ජීවිතේ වැඩිපුර ලැබෙන හොඳම දේවල් විඳින්න. දැන් SLT Broadband වෙතින් 75% දක්වා වැඩිපුර ඩේටා සතුට ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
Good evening. A chaotic protest. Farmers in Rajanganaya, Anuradhapura turns violent during a protest march when the police intervened. 5 policemen hospitalized, several protesters arrested. Strengthening the economy. President Sirisena calls on a program where banks and financial institutions work hand in hand to strengthen rural economy. Wrongful allegations. Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa in a statement says that attempts are being made to arrest him on false allegations. Changing the change. Cabinet co-spokesman Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says Prime Minister temporarily took over the law and order post as Minister Sarath Fonseca was not in the country. And in Sports Laureus Awards 2018, the world #1 tennis player Roger Federer was handed the Sportsman of the Year award after winning his 5th Australian Open. It's 9 o'clock on the dot and we're coming to you live this hour with the very latest on the days happening from across Sri Lanka and around the world. Good evening everyone, I'm Mahesh Johnny and this is First at 9. Later on in the show we will tell you a story of a maid that underwent horrific incidents in the Middle East. But first, in our lead story. A farmers' protest took a turn to the worst in Thambuthegama, leading to tear gas and water cannons being used by the police. Members of United Farmers Association of Rajanganaya staged a protest against water from the tank Rajanganaya in Anuradhapura being given to a multinational company for a drinking water project. A tense situation broke out when the police attempted to disperse the protesters, and the police media spokesperson confirmed the arrest of 59 protesters following the clash that followed, with 5 police officers being injured.
United Farmers Association of Rajanganaya launched a protest claiming that permission has been granted to a multinational company to use the Rajanganaya tank in Anuradhapura for a drinking water project. The tank supplies water to 17,000 acres of paddy. The protest commenced around 10 this morning at the Kalawaya Bridge located along the Anuradhapura-Putlam main route. The protesters later marched towards the Thambuthegama city via the Anuradhapura-Kurunegala main road, with traffic along the route being disrupted for approximately 3 hours.
This tank must fill twice for us to work one season. The last 3 seasons were risky seasons. In such a backdrop, what will happen to 35,000 farmers if they start a drinking water project?
The farmers continued to ignore calls by the police to clear the road, saying that they would continue until a responsible official arrives to provide them a lasting solution. Divisional Secretary of Thambuthegama later arrived at the scene and arranged 5 of the farmers' representatives to have a discussion with the District Secretary of Anuradhapura. As a result of protesting farmers remaining at the Thambuthegama junction, riot police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse them. The move, however, agitated the protesting farmers and they pelted stones at the Thambuthegama police station and its officers, storming the premises. The situation led to the arrest of 59 farmers, of which 5 are women. Police media spokesperson's office said 5 police officers attached to the Tambuttegama police station sustained injuries. Meanwhile, several farmers with injuries are being treated at the Tambuttegama base hospital.
President Maithripala Sirisena has given instructions to the Ministry of Finance, Central Bank and heads of state banks to implement a comprehensive program consisting of 100 types of joint loan schemes within the next few months. The move is intended to provide assistance for small and medium-sized entrepreneurs and businessmen in the country in uplifting their businesses. The President revealed the matter at a discussion held at the Presidential Secretariat this morning.
The National Economic Council has presented a program of 100 types of loan schemes for the economic revival of the country, and the President has given instructions to provide assistance for small and medium-scale entrepreneurs and businessmen in uplifting their businesses. It was done during a discussion held with the heads of state banks at the Presidential Secretariat today. The President also instructed the Ministry of Finance to provide a report within the next 2 weeks regarding this task, which is to be implemented within the next few months. In the meantime, the film Tundenek, co-directed by Prasanna Vitanage, Vimukthi Jayasundara and Ashoka Handagama, produced by the Office for National Unity and Reconciliation, was screened yesterday under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena.
Samagya Sanghindyawa.
We hope this will provide guidance for the national endeavours to build reconciliation and sustainable peace.
We like to enjoy equal rights and live without falling short of needs. We can embark on this journey together without falling foul with anyone. It is a new society today, and we should make websites, mobile phones, television as films into weapons. I see reconciliation as a spiritual philosophy. We should be dedicated to building a society where humans live as humans.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa insists that both India and Sri Lanka should get together in finding a solution for the fishermen issue which exists between the two nations. The former head of state was addressing media in India following a visit to the Tirupati Kovil.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and a delegation including parliamentarian Lohan Ratwatta went to India last evening to engage in religious observances at the famous hill shrine of Lord Venkateshwara near Tirumala. Following the visit to the Kovil this morning, the former head of state addressed the media.
We had a very good darshan and to the organizers and to the government. Yes, we have won all most of them. About 71% of the seats we have won.
Why don't you find a solution for the fishermen of both sides?
Yes, this is what we are trying to do, and both parties must get together and come to a decision. Unfortunately, they couldn't.
Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne is positive that the Ministry of Law and Order will be handed over to another within 2 weeks. The minister voiced his views on the much talked about topic at the Cabinet media briefing held in Colombo today. In the meantime, it was also revealed that the Cabinet approved the National Audit Bill yesterday.
Cabinet approved the National Audit Bill subject to amendments to be made according to recommendations made by the Cabinet Committee chaired by Minister Dr. Sarath Amunagama. The Cabinet also approved the decision to transfer the power to file cases based on facts revealed by the Commission of Inquiry to the Bribery Commission, and it was decided that the bill would be gazetted and presented in Parliament for approval. The proposal to improve roads, which joins the Central Expressway in Kandy and surrounding areas, and Rights Limited of India to provide consultancy services for preparing a comprehensive project report, was given the green light by the Cabinet. The proposal to establish a sub-regional centre of regional integrated multi-hazard early warning system in Sri Lanka was given the nod yesterday. In the meantime, the trilateral memorandum of understanding between Sri Lanka, India and Japan on establishing a liquid natural gas terminal and a floating natural gas terminal was also approved by the Cabinet. Sri Lanka government and the Sri Lanka gas terminal will have a share of 15% of the venture, while Petronet LGN Limited of India will have a share of 47.5%, while the Sojitz Corporation and Mitsubishi Company of Japan will have a share of 37.5%. Cabinet approval was also given to the feasibility study to implement the section from Rajagiriya to Athuragiriya of the elevated highway project at a cost of 98.73 million rupees. In the meantime, a number of other current issues were also taken up during the cabinet media briefing today.
නීති හා සාමය පිළිබඳ අමාත්‍යාංශය සම්බන්ධයෙන් කවුද මේක ඇත්තම අයිතිකාරයා?
ඒක ඇත්තටම දැන් අගමැතිවරයානේ. එතුමා දිවුරුම් දුන්නනේ නීති හා සාමය මේක සිදුවෙන මොහොතේ සරත් වංශක මහත්මයා දිවයිනේ හිටියේ නෑ. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා එතුමා ආවට පස්සේ ඒක සාකච්ඡා කරලා විසඳන තමයි සතියකට අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා දිවුරුම් දුන්නේ.
සති දෙකකින් පස්සේ වෙනත් ඇමතිවරයෙකුට ලබා දෙන බව ස්ථිරද?
ඔව්.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා යෝජනාවක් කරාද ප්‍රයිම් මිනිස්ටර් යටතේ තියෙන යුනික් මැනේජ්මන්ට් කමිටු එක අවර කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
නෑ ඊයේ ලොකු සංවාදයක් ඇති වුණා ආර්ථික කමිටුව ගැන. මොකද ආර්ථික කමිටුව තුළ දීර්ඝ කාලයක් ගත වෙනවා ඒකේ සාකච්ඡා මාර්ගවලට. තව අවුරුදු 1කමාරක් යනකොට අපේ සංවර්ධන ව්‍යාපෘති ඔක්කොම අවසන් කරන්න ඕනේ. මොකද අන්තිම මාස 6 ඔවා කෙරෙන්නේ නෑනේ. එතෙන්දී යෝජනා දෙකක් ආවා. එක්කෝ මේ කමිටුව අහෝසි කළා සියලුම කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකා එලින්ම කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයට ගේන්න කලින් වගේ. තව යෝජනාවක් ආවා ජාතික මට්ටමේ ව්‍යාපෘති ඕනනම් එතෙන්ට ගෙනිහිල්ලා අනිත් ඔක්කොම සුළු ඒවා ටික මේව කරා. ඒකට අගමැතිතුමත් එකග වුණා.
අම්පාරේ බරපතල ගැටුම්කාරී තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙලා STF ආරක්ෂා යොදවන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
දැන් පාලනය කළ ඉවරයි. ඒකට සම්බන්ධ වෙච්ච සියලුම කට්ටිය අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමෙන් තිබෙනවා. යම් යම් පාර්ශ්ව වමනාවෙන් මෙවැනි තත්ත්වයක් උදා කිරීමට ක්‍රියා කරාද කියලාත් හොයාගෙන යනවා.
හිටපු මහ බැංකුව අධිපතිවරයා ලංකාවේ ඉන්න කාලය ඇතුළත තමයි මේ පරීක්ෂණ ආරම්භ වුණේ. අවසාන අධීරයේ තිබෙත ඉතින්
ඔබතුමාගේ තීන්දුවක් තියෙන්න බෑ මහත්තයෝ. මේ පරීක්ෂණ වාර්තා පටන් කරගත්තයි කියලා මිනිසුන් අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න තියනවාද?
දැන්වත් එතුමා ගෙන්නයිද හිටපු අධිපතිතුමා?
මහ බැංකුව අධිපතිතුමාව ගේනවා කොහොමද අපි? ඒක අධිකරණ නියෝගයක්.
The joint opposition alleges that President has failed to fulfill his pledge to take control of the economy, while Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has failed to interfere in bringing former Central Bank Governor Arjun Mahendran to stand trial in Sri Lanka. He made the remark while addressing a media briefing held in Colombo today.
President Sirisena has repeatedly asserted that he will take control of the economy, that he proposes to change the situation that existed during the last 3 years when the control of the economy was in the hands of the United National Party. But that has not been accomplished at all. What has been called a cabinet reshuffle is not a cabinet reshuffle in any sense of the term, and the United National Party still remains in control of the commanding heights of the economy. There has not been any difference with regard to that at all. Now, this is happening in a situation where the former governor of the central bank, Mr. Arjun Mahendran, has disappeared from Singapore. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe as the new minister for law and order. Now, if he is at all serious about getting Arjun Mahendran down here, in a situation where there is no extradition treaty in force between Singapore and Sri Lanka, the least one would expect him to do is to make a very earnest request to the Prime Minister of Singapore and to the President of Singapore to do their utmost to ensure that a man who has bankrupted Sri Lanka, a man who happens to be a Singaporean national carrying a Singaporean pass, to have this person sent to Sri Lanka to stand trial before the courts of this country.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna today clarified the circumstances under which the party will support a no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Convening a media briefing at the party headquarters, they said that their assistance will only be forthcoming if the no-faith motion is brought against allegations of fraud and corruption levelled at the Prime Minister as well as shielding fraudsters.
If they are to bring a no-confidence motion against allegations of fraud and for shielding of fraudsters, which are levelled against the Prime Minister, then it will have the support of the JVP. We will also assess whether a no-faith motion is brought as a result of a power struggle and then make appropriate decisions. We didn't get a public mandate to assist in the formation of a government, so we will act independently. After inviting an individual from Singapore to become the governor of the central bank and then to say that he cannot be located after being implicated in fraud is nonsense. The Prime Minister is directly responsible for bringing the former central bank governor back to the country. The Prime Minister should have been arrested by the police. But what happened is that the police is now under the Prime Minister.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa charges that the government is attempting to convince the public that he was behind the murder of veteran journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge. The former Defence Secretary made the comment through a special statement issued to media today, while adding that this the government's latest attempt to arrest him.
The special statement by former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa focused on a newspaper article published on the 25th of February quoting government sources. The Defence Secretary quoted a line in the newspaper which said, as per testimony by a police officer in remand custody, the military intelligence is behind the murder of journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge, and National Intelligence Chief at the time retired Major General Kapila Handavitarana was heading a kill squad while reporting directly to then Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The former Defence Secretary says the story contains many malicious and defamatory allegations and accusations against him, and that he categorically dismisses those as being baseless and without foundation, since he is in no way connected to the murder of Sunday leader editor Lasantha Wickrematunge. He went on to say that the Director of Military Intelligence of the Army is only a command position within the Army, and that if the military intelligence was involved in the killing, the CID can easily investigate the actions of this directorate, which reported to then Army Commander Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, who would be directly responsible for the Military Intelligence Directorate outcomes. While highlighting the newspaper's attempt to implicate the former Defence Secretary in the corrupt purchase of 4 MiG jet fighters for the Air Force, he said that he took legal action claiming damages from the newspaper for defamation, and the court subsequently upheld his claim. Following which, the Sunday Leader newspaper was also ordered to publish an apology to the former Defence Secretary. He goes on to say that the government is attempting to obtain false confessions and statements from police and military officers under duress and threat, so as to implicate him on some charge or another.
Also in other local stories we have for you tonight, the Supreme Court today issued an interim injunction preventing former Inspector General of Police Jayantha Wickremaratne from being arrested over the murder of veteran journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge. The former IGP had petitioned the court seeking a court order preventing his possible arrest in connection to the murder. On the 14th of February, the retired senior DIG Prasanna Nanayakara was arrested by the CID for allegedly concealing evidence pertaining to the murder of Wickrematunge. Meanwhile, the Colombo High Court says that the decision to whether to proceed with the revision application filed by owner of Perpetual Treasuries Arjun Aloysius and CEO Kasun Palisena will be announced on the 9th of March. The petitioners pointed out in their revision application that they were rejected by the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court under the Public Property Act. However, they request that the decision of the Magistrates Court be revised and bail granted, as no crimes have been uncovered under the Public Property Act following the reports presented by the CID. Now, Sri Lankan Airlines announced that the flight delays experienced during the last few days will dissipate and the situation will return to normalcy by noon tomorrow. A spokesman from the Sri Lankan Airlines said that only 2 flights were delayed today, other than the cancellation of 4 flights which were scheduled today between Seychelles and Mumbai. A spokesperson added that the situation is now fully under control and all flights due for tomorrow will be in operation. In a heartwarming story tonight, domestic service in the Middle East is often the choice of employment for thousands of women in Sri Lanka, but it is more out of desperation than choice that they embrace it. It is a very desperation which compels them to overlook numerous tragedies experienced by those who leave the shores for the Middle East. Tonight, we bring you another such tragedy faced by a Sri Lankan woman who set off for employment in Kuwait while harboring aspirations of providing her family with a better life.
41-year-old B.A. Hemalata is a mother of 4 from the area of Pitabaddara in Matara. Her family had to undergo severe financial hardship following the disastrous floods which hit the area last May. Floods took away all their belongings, and relief goods they received were not enough. That forced her to leave the country for Kuwait on the 26th of January as a domestic maid. 10 days later, however, her family received a phone call from a distraught Hemalata saying that she was being beaten up by her employers. When her relatives requested help from the Foreign Employment Agency through which Hemalata went to Kuwait, the response was astonishing.
Mr. Sumit with the agency told us to pay 300,000 rupees to get her back. We told him we don't have that much money.
I lodged a complaint with the Bureau of Foreign Employment against the agency, and Ms. Tushari from the employment agency told me that if I pay them 100,000 rupees, they could bring her back on the next day itself. So I pawned my motorbike and other things to collect the money, and when I deposited that money, they told me to withdraw the complaint as well, so I did.
The particular employment agency later took measures to bring Hemalata back to the country on the 25th of February. She is still being treated at the district hospital in Morawaka because of the violent beatings she was subjected to.
They kept beating me because I didn't know how to speak the language, and they brought me back to the branch of the employment agency there. Those officials called the officers at the agency in Sri Lanka, and these officers also told them to beat me until I agreed to stay there. So they did. I'm saying all of this so that no other person has to go through things like this.
Our attempts to contact officials at the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment proved futile. The question begs, how many innocent women need to suffer owing to destitute and desperation before the authorities put an end to it?
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, the Derana 24/7.
On to business news now. Minister of Industry and Commerce Rishad Baduddin says with a cooperative asset base of nearly $18 million, Sri Lanka's cooperatives are no longer charitable organizations and therefore must now compete in the liberal market economy. He was addressing the launch of Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Conference in Colombo yesterday.
The Asia Pacific Cooperative Development Conference, which commenced yesterday, is the first such international cooperative alliance conference to be held in the country. Themed as building multi-stakeholder partnerships on sustainable development, the two-day conference is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Recognized as the third economic force in the country, cooperative success led to the establishment of almost 14,500 cooperatives in various sectors, including production and services, small and medium enterprises, and agriculture. It consists of a membership base of over 5 million. Minister of Industry and Commerce Rishad Baduddin says Sri Lankan cooperatives have the strength to face challenges of the open economy.
Cooperatives are no longer charitable organizations and they have to have a considerable revenue to meet their expenses for their survival. As all of you are aware, cooperatives also have to compete with other institutions in a liberalized market economy. In fact, it has tremendous strength to meet business challenges in the open economy, and Sri Lankan cooperative sector is a good example. I would like to mention that the government is ready to provide support and cooperation to achieve the SDGs and also to develop the cooperative movement.
Let's take you to the stock market now. The ASPI ended 0.12% weaker at 6,551.78, its lowest close since 14th of February. The daily turnover was at 1.05 billion rupees, which was more than this year's daily average of 972.9 million rupees. Now, for a detailed report, let's cross over to Imesh Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,046.35 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 569.48 million rupees and foreign sales were 696.82 million rupees. There were 8 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 658.04 million rupees.
Well, the rupee closed at 155 rupees and 05 to 15 cents per dollar, compared with yesterday's close of 154 rupees and 85 to 95 cents per dollar. Now let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day today. On to international news now. A UN report says that North Korea has been sending equipment to Syria that could be used to make chemical weapons. The allegations follow new reports of chlorine gas being used by Syrian forces, which the government denies.
A Russian call for a 5-hour truce yesterday failed to halt one of the most devastating campaigns of the Syrian war, where residents said government warplanes resumed strike in the eastern Ghouta region yesterday after a brief lull. Hundreds of people died during 10 days of government bombardment of the eastern Ghouta, an area of towns and farms on the outskirts of Damascus. The assault has been among the most devastating air campaigns of a war, now entering its 8th year. Meanwhile, the UN report has accused North Korea of supplying equipment to Syria that could be used to make chemical weapons. The report found that some 40 previously unreported shipments were made between 2012 and 2017. Materials included acid-resistant tiles, valves and pipes. The report, yet to be released, said North Korean missile specialists had been seen at Syrian weapon-making centers.
Meanwhile, North Korea's envoy addressing the United Nations Conference on Disarmament in Geneva yesterday dismissed sanctions as ineffective. He said that it plans Seoul and the United States to resume joint military exercises would harm the current positive process of improved inter-Korean relations.
North Korean Ambassador Han Tae-song accused the United States of engaging in dangerous moves that threatened inter-Korean relations that had improved since the Olympic Games in Pyeongchang in South Korea. Han urged US President Donald Trump's administration to stop all provocations that escalate tensions, including deployment of nuclear assets around the Korean peninsula, as well as the joint military exercises that he said undermine regional peace and security. But US Disarmament Ambassador Robert Wood told the forum that Washington would never recognize North Korea as a nuclear weapon state.
I just want to make clear to the representative of Pyongyang that the U.S. will not, I repeat, will not recognize North Korea as a nuclear weapon state. So it needs to stop this demand. It will not happen.
Meanwhile, 5 senior Western European security sources say that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his late father Kim Jong-il used fraudulently obtained Brazilian passports to apply for visas to visit Western countries in the 1990s. The North Korean embassy in Brazil declined to comment, and Brazil's foreign ministry said it was investigating.
Now, more stories from across the world.
Airstrikes killed 5 civilians and wounded at least 14, including 4 children outside the northern Yemeni city of Sada yesterday. The medics said 2 further airstrikes hit paramedics who were trying to lift the victims from the rubble. Tear gas was flying in the streets of Tegucigalpa yesterday during a visit by US Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley to Honduras, with protesters angry at Washington's support of President Juan Orlando Hernandez in an election marred by fraud allegations. The conservative Hernandez has been a US stalwart in Central America on issues ranging from trafficking, security and migrants. Supermarkets in Taiwan have seen a frenzy of customers over the weekend trying to stock up on toilet paper amid fears of sharp price increases. The panic buying started after word spread that toilet paper manufacturers were expecting a 10 to 30% price rise as a result of a supply disruption in short fiber pulp. The San Diego Zoo celebrated International Polar Bear Day yesterday when they released 10 largemouth black bass into the pool of their polar bear exhibit. The bears, who were brought into captivity after they were found orphaned in the wild, took to the water to try and retrieve the fish with varying degrees of success.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to sports now. Sri Lanka Cricket announced the final 15-member squad for Nidhas Trophy 2018, set to begin at the R. Premadasa Stadium on the 6th of March. The 15-member squad was selected from a 20-member preliminary squad approved by Sports Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara. Dinesh Chandimal will once again lead the Sri Lanka's T20 team as regular limited over skipper Angelo Matthews is yet to recover from a hamstring injury. Fast bowler Shehan Madhushankar, who made an impressive start to his international career in Bangladesh, is also ruled out due to a hamstring strain he sustained in Bangladesh, while all-rounder Asela Gunaratne is suffering from a rotator cuff strain. The Tri-Nation T20 series between Sri Lanka, India and Bangladesh, organised in view of Sri Lanka's 70th independence, will go on for 12 days with the final scheduled for the 18th of March. Meanwhile, big match fever is set to hit this weekend with St. Joseph's College Maradana and St. Peter's College Bambalapitiya fighting it out in the 84th Battle of the Saints. The 2-day match will take place on the 2nd and 3rd of March at the Pisara Oval.
The 84th Battle of the Saints annual cricket big match between St. Peter's College and St. Joseph's College is scheduled for the 2nd and 3rd of March at the PSR Oval. In this year's encounter, Peterites will be led by all-rounder and national under-19 player Santosh Gunatilaka, while the Joes will be captained by Sri Lanka under-19 all-rounder Jehan Daniel. St. Joseph's leads the series tally with 12 wins, and their last win came under the captaincy of Ruanta Fernandapulle in 2008.
Well, Roger Federer was a big winner at the glittering Laureus Awards in Monte Carlo last evening. The world #1 tennis player was handed the Sportsman of the Year award after winning his 5th Australian Open and 8th Wimbledon title last year.
After bagging Wimbledon last year, Roger Federer became just the 2nd man in the Open era to win Wimbledon without dropping a set. Federer also picked up the Comeback of the Year award in recognition of his return to the game after sitting out the second half of 2016 with a knee injury.
I have a foundation of my own, and I definitely get inspired very much and motivated by what you guys do, and maybe one day I'll be remembered for my philanthropic work rather than my tennis work. So everybody have a wonderful evening. This means the world to me. Thank you so much.
Serena Williams took out the Sportswoman of the Year prize after winning a 7th Australian Open title and netting her record-breaking 23rd Grand Slam win. Formula One champions Mercedes, meanwhile, won the Team of the Year award.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Over the next 24 hours now, temperatures could vary between 21 to 30 degrees Celsius, but our viewers in the coastal belt will continue to experience showers due to a low pressure zone in the vicinity of Sri Lanka. Showers or thunder showers can also be expected in the eastern, north central and Uva provinces as well as in the Matale district, while heavy rainfalls of about 75 millimeters can be expected in the eastern and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Matara and Polonnaruwa districts. In Trincomalee, Batticaloa and Hambantota, some misty conditions can be expected during the morning hours. Well, that's it from your weather centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow. Be sure to join us then. And before we wrap things up, we like to take you to the Kadadora temple in Kothmale, which is submerged by the waters of the Kothmale reservoir and gets revealed to the world when the water levels of the reservoir recedes. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.